Dolphins fans, what's going on? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. Day 2 of legal tampering recap. And I'm a little bit earlier with today's recap compared to yesterday's recap. So if any news were to happen later tonight after I already post this video, I will include those players in a recap on Wednesday as well. I want to touch on every free agent that the Dolphins end up signing here this offseason. But we saw some takeaways today, day 2. And it really kind of hinged around the running back position as we saw the Dolphins essentially recreate what they had in 2022, re-signing Raheem Mostert, re-signing Jeff Wilson. Prior to legal tampering beginning, we already re-signed Salvon Ahmed. So we got those three under contract. So I'm going to focus a lot on the running backs in today's video. And at the end of the video, I'm going to touch on some news regarding Jordan Poyer that I got right before recording this. So stay tuned for that as well. Let's talk about those running backs. You can see Raheem Mostert there, a 2-year deal. 2-year deals have been the contract du jour for these guys, especially the running backs, $5.6 million, $2.2 million guaranteed. And we know what we're getting with Raheem Mostert. Led the Dolphins last year in carries and rush yards, tied for the team league in rushing touchdowns. He does really well as a pass catcher as well. Added over 200 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns through the air as well. And then you move on to the guy that we traded a 5th-round draft pick for right before last year's trade deadline. Dolphins re-signed Jeff Wilson, like I said, another 2-year deal. This one being worth up to $8.2 million. And obviously, right behind Mostert in those stats was Jeff Wilson. 2nd most carries, 2nd most yards, added 4 total touchdowns. But when you look at this duo, it's kind of the old cliche, a little thunder, a little lightning. Raheem Mostert's obviously the guy you want with the ball out in space. Jeff Wilson, not that he's slow by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's on record saying, you know what, I'd rather run through a guy. I'm going to lower my shoulder and I'm going to run through a guy. So they're kind of a nice complement to each other. Both of them did get hurt at times in the 2022 season. They've dealt with some injuries in the past. But overall, if we can get through those injuries, if we can keep these guys healthy, I like this pairing. And I'm going to go into more details right now as to why I like this pairing, because it's been well documented. The Dolphins had conversations over the first couple of days with the Titans, with the Vikings, regarding Derrick Henry, regarding Dalvin Cook. And to be fair, those conversations are still happening, but to a lesser degree. It's not 100% over, but at this point in time, the asking price for those guys, just too high. So we get the recreation of the 2022 backfield. But before that happened, I mean, I was kind of looking at what happens if the Dolphins land a Dalvin Cook or a Derrick Henry. So I kind of started trying to talk myself into the idea, because traditionally, if you've been watching Fins Up Network videos in the past, I'm a guy that says you don't trade big assets for running backs. You don't overpay for running backs. However, if you want to try to look at it from the pro trade for Cook or Henry point of view, like I was doing earlier today before this news. So you're likely looking at a window of 2 years with those guys at those peak, 2 to 3 years with a guy like Cook or a guy like Henry at their peak. And what did we sign today's guys to? 2-year deals. So yes, you would have been giving up the assets, and yes, you would have been paying more money to a Dalvin Cook or to a Derrick Henry than you gave to Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson. But here's the big button. Here's where I almost had myself kind of talked into. I understand the reasoning. You're in win now mode. You do what you can, you pay what you can, you give up the assets you can to maximize this 1 to 2 to 3 year window. So I get it. I get those that want to trade for these big name running backs. Like I said, I had sort of talked myself into the idea, but at the end of the day, I wanted to stay true to myself. And as of right now, that's what the Dolphins did today with bringing in these lower cost options that are still quality guys. Raheem Mostert still has one of the best yards per carry in his career. Jeff Wilson, we gave up a 5th rounder for him. He proved to step in from day one, be good in pass protection, be good between the tackles, reliable when we did target him with the ball. So we've got those two. We've got Ahmed. Those are your running backs that are under contract. And like I said, I would sort of lean towards and expect that we're done addressing the running back position for now. So if that's the case, we turn our attention to that position to the NFL draft. And keep in mind now, we don't have that other third rounder. We've got a second, we've got a third, we got a sixth, and a seventh. And I believe, as of last I was told, fewest draft picks of any single team in the NFL. So we went from a couple of years when we had draft picks galore to now we're running into this draft with 4 picks. So that's some running back talk, but I did want to end with what I told you guys, Jordan Poyer news. So right before starting this, I have it on good account that Jordan Poyer has verbally agreed with the Miami Dolphins. So I just put it out on Twitter. People are going crazy already, and I want to make it perfectly clear that the Miami Dolphins still need to dot the I's, cross the T's. The contract is not signed as of recording this. As of this announcement, the contract is not signed. It's not finalized. However, verbally, it is there. I've been told that it's just a matter of time now until the kind of contract gets ironed out a little bit, and then it can be made officially. And then obviously with the new league year, if it happens, I'm not even saying that it might not even happen today. There's a chance. These things take a little bit of time. Things can fall apart. However, it's verbally there. If everything goes as it's planned to go, Jordan Poyer will be a Miami Dolphin as well. Any other notes I wanted to see if we talked on? Keep your eye on linebacker yet as well. I've been told that despite re-signing Duke Riley, bringing in David Long, there is a chance that the Miami Dolphins aren't done pursuing a linebacker as well. So the new league year begins tomorrow, Dolphins fans. Like I said, I will be continuing to do a recap like this after every single day of free agency. Like I said, today's was a little bit earlier. I got a couple of things I got to tackle here. So I wanted to make sure I got today's out in a timely fashion. But that's the news that I have as of right now, Dolphins fans. And until tomorrow, fins up.